Hello and welcome to Mega Music Memories. If you love pop music, if you love nostalgia, and if you want to hear your favourite blasts from the past reflecting on their careers and giving us the lowdown on what they're up to now, then this is the podcast for you. My name is Matt Gibson. I am your host, and I'll be taking you on a journey of magical music from a golden age of pop by interviewing artists and bands from the 80s, 90s and noughties who gave us so many amazing memories. If, like me, you think there are so many acts from that era who have slipped through the cracks of time and don't get the plaudits, respect and adulation that they deserve, then subscribe and stay tuned, my friends, because I'm on a mission to make that change. So buckle up, nostalgia nerds, because we've got some serious reminiscing to do. So my first ever guest on this podcast is Nikk Mager. Now, if you're listening to this podcast and you don't instantly recognise that name, you most likely will remember the boy band Phixx, of which Nikk was a member. Phixx were made up of Nikk and four other guys, Mikey Green, Andrew Kinlochen, Chris Park and Peter Smith, who got to the final 10 in the hugely popular 2002 TV talent show Popstars The Rivals, but were runners-up to the eventual boy band winners of that show, One True Voice. Phixx broke into the top 10 of the UK charts with their debut single Hold On Me, ruffling a few feathers and turning a few heads along the way with an edgy, eye-catching music video and a risque Top of the Pops performance which almost got axed from the legendary BBC TV show. Phixx went on to have 4 top 20 UK chart hits, and their album, Electrophonic Revolution, went to number 1 in South Africa. Despite disbanding in 2006, they retain a cult following of fans who fondly remember their distinctive, heavily 1980s influenced electro-pop vibes. Now, I want to say a huge thank you to Nikk for giving me the opportunity to interview him, for being so generous with his time and for talking so candidly about his fascinating 20-year journey in the music industry, which, as we learn in the interview, is far from over and in so many ways is only really just beginning. He talks very openly and very eloquently about his coming to terms with his sexuality during his time in Phixx, and it's really interesting that a lot of that has come out in songwriting that Nick's done over the last couple of years, and which you'll be able to hear in his first solo album, which he tells us about in the interview. Nick's also had a fair bit of experience with TV talent shows, and it was really interesting to hear his experiences of what it's like to be a part of those shows and the kind of things that go on behind the scenes as well. Nikk also lets us in behind the curtain and gives us some really interesting insights into what went on with Phixx in terms of record deals and all the politics that go hand in hand with that, which is so much to deal with at such a tender age, because this was all going on for those guys when they were so young, and particularly Nikk, who was still a teenager back then. And he also touches on the dynamics between himself and the other guys in the band too. All really interesting stuff. Now, I conducted the interview at the end of a long day for Nikk at his leafy West Yorkshire apartments, where he just finished shooting a music video. So I started by asking him what it was for.
It's for a song that I wrote during lockdown 1.0 called Heal the Hurt.
Wow.
So it's about basically a failed relationship that I'm still not completely over.
Okay.
But it's getting better. And I think it's quite relatable for a lot of people to get the teeth stuck into, and I think it's going to hit a nerve with quite a lot of people.
Fantastic.
So it's great. So I've been doing a video for that in this apartment that we are actually doing this interview from now, and it was all filmed very sort of honest and very natural. There's no frills. It was just all about the emotion of the song, and it's kind of draining actually.
Yeah.
To do that when you've worked so hard on something, but yeah, I'm just a little bit tired today, but nothing that a cup of coffee didn't sort out, so I'm alright now. I'm really excited for people to see it. This is like my first solo single as a solo artist.
Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah.
So it's exciting times.
And this is on your album.
Yeah.
When's it coming out?
It's going to be coming out. What we're going to do to start with, we're going to release a couple of singles. We haven't got a date in mind as such yet, because obviously the the pandemic is still quite a prevalent thing.
Yeah.
So until we know what's going on with that, we'll then fix a date and, you know, keep your eyes and ears peeled, because it's a very eclectic album as well. It's got many different genres on there, many different moods. It's quite a timeless album as well. It's very current as well, and there are a couple of tracks on there about COVID-19 as well.
Wow.
So it definitely is fitting with the times.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's mature, it's a step, you know, in the right direction for me, and it's something different to what I've done before. It's more mature. It's about breakup, it's about believing in yourself, it's about the coronavirus, it's about just many different things, feeling good in your own skin, feeling comfortable. There's also a track on there called Unseen, which is about, you know, people hiding their sexuality because they're too scared of what people may or may not think about them being gay or bi or whatever it is. So there's a really strong song on there called Unseen, and that's going to, I think, hit a nerve with a lot of people as well. And it is Pride Month, and I think it's a really cool song to sort of get out there as well. I think it'll hit a nerve with a lot of people.
And obviously that's something that you've obviously got experience with yourself, obviously coming out yourself.
Absolutely.
And obviously being in the band as well when Andrew came out as well.
That's it.
I mean, how was that when he did that?
I mean, casting my mind back, obviously I'm 37 now, I was 19, 20 at the time, just a teenager. I didn't feel comfortable about being gay back then, and not because I didn't want to, just because I was made to feel as though I couldn't. There was already a gay guy that came out in the band, and I was just made to believe that, well, we've already got one gay guy in the group, we can't have two. So that was a massive thing, and I had a girlfriend at the time who I absolutely adored, but I do believe at the time it was something that I was using to, and I love her to bits, and we've had this conversation, so she's not going to mind me saying this, but it was kind of to mask the truth about myself, which is really sad, isn't it, when you think about it. Now, I don't care who knows it, I'm so proud of who I am, and that was my past, and I just wish that more people could have the strength, really, to stand up for what they believe in and who they are as a person. It would have saved a lot of trouble back then.
But as you say, back then you were so young.
Yeah.
Thrust into the public eye, aged 19, 18.
Yeah, 18 at the time, yeah.
And obviously, again, we're talking 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Views weren't what they are today as well.
Yeah.
But also just all that to deal with at such a young age,
yeah,
you know, very difficult.
It was a lot. And when you're not as confident as a person in your teens, that thrown into the mix as well, it was just tough to then just be confident as well in front of the camera all the time. So much is expected of you when you're thrown into the limelight, so much. You just got to deal with it. Nobody gives you a guidebook on how to do it the right way or the wrong way, if you like. But I'm in a good place now, so it's fine.
Fantastic.
I'm a well-rounded Yorkshireman.
Well, that's great to hear, and we'll come back to the album later on in the interview, but now I'm just going to take you all the way back, if you don't mind.
Wow, all the way.
All the way as well, Nick, because most people will know you from Phixx. One of the bands obviously spawned by Popstars, the Rivals, but what a lot of people might not realise is that wasn't your first taste of primetime television.
It wasn't.
Would I be right in thinking you appeared as a very, very, very young man, maybe, or a teenage boy even, on something, was it Star for a Night?
Wow, you've done your research,
I have done my research.
Yes, that was my first taste of TV stardom, if you like, at 16 years old. 16? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I auditioned for a show called Star for a Night. Jane McDonald had just come off the cruise. She was a huge star at the time, and she still is now, to be honest, but that TV show was like the first of its kind.
Right.
Before Pop Idol, before Popstars, before X Factor. And one of the judges, one of the panellists for this talent show was Barbara Windsor. the late great Barbara Windsor. She was absolutely adorable. She was one of the sweetest women I've ever met, and yeah, that was like my first taste to go, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be in front of the camera, singing my songs, doing my thing. Yeah. And I've just stuck to it ever since. And here I am, however many years later. Yeah. So yeah, I got selected. I did an audition and 5 people from this local area got selected to do that particular TV show. Okay. So it's like a really big deal for me at the time.
And to me, that suggests that, as you said, this is something that I want to do, and you were serious about it. Yeah. Because I think it's fair to say, maybe all young lads or young girls kind of have an idea of like, I'd love to be a famous singer or actor or footballer or something.
It's just like a throwaway comment half the time, isn't it?
Absolutely. I know it was for me, but
I was actually serious.
You were actually serious.
I was the guy sat there in front of the TV watching Top of the Pops every week going, that's going to be me one day, I'm going to do that. I had no idea it was going to happen, but a miracle happened.
It did.
It actually happened at 19. I was chuffed. Yeah. Chuffed a bit.
Fantastic. So that obviously gave you the bug, and you went on to audition for Pop Idol. Is that right?
So just a year later, after doing Stuff and Night, I auditioned for Pop Idol in front of Simon Cowell and I think it was Nicky Chapman at the time. Dr.
That's
Fox.
Right. Yeah.
It was brilliant, and good old Pete Waterman made it to the final 50. Made a couple of really good friends from that show. Really good friends with a lovely girl called Zoe Burkitt.
Oh yes.
We've ended up staying really, really good friends throughout all these years. So I've known her for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And that again, that was another step up the ladder for me.
Yeah.
1 year more confident, 1 year more to realise that this is still what I want to do. Hadn't obviously, had that break yet. And then it was just a year after Pop Idol when I decided to audition for Popstars, and then that's what happened. The rest is history.
Yeah. So when you did audition for Popstars, was that like, was it what you imagined it to be? And same for Pop Idol as well. Like, I mean, so had you seen Popstars, the original?
Yes, and I was gutted that I wasn't old enough to do it.
Right, I was going to ask.
I would have easily done an Nadine and lied with my passport and gone on the show and lied about my age, but I was gutted that I couldn't do the first series.
So you'd seen it, you were glued to the TV,
absolutely.
And you were just counting down the days until you were old enough to
I couldn't wait to audition for the second series. And I was old enough, and I just believed that if I sang well in my audition, that I could make it into one of the bands, and I did. I just believed it. I don't know. It was like third time lucky for me. Star for a Night, good, but I didn't kind of get through all the way. Pop Idol, Final 50, didn't quite make it through. And then the finals, I made it through to the live shows for Popstars, so it was like third time lucky.
But you were so young as well. We've got to remember that, young. So, I mean, 16, Star for a Night, 17, Pop Idol.
And then 18, Popstars.
And then 18, Popstars.
Yeah,
I mean,
like dush.
Yeah. So it's progression, isn't it? Obviously, you're still growing, you're still learning how to sing and how to compose yourself and so on. So, it just shows...
It takes focus.
It does.
Laser beam focus if you want it that bad, because there's thousands of people, you've seen them queuing outside.
Yes.
People camp outside just to do a 2-minute audition, it's nuts.
Yeah.
But it's worth it if you get through, trust me.
And when you were that kid who was glued in front of Top of the Pops when you were young, like what sort of music were you listening to then? Who were your influences?
I was just watching all sorts. I mean, I'm still, even though I probably wouldn't have watched it at the time, massive fan of the 80s music. 80s era for me will always be something that I don't think anyone could ever recapture again. It's just a moment in music. It's just got its own unique sound. But in terms of watching bands and stuff, obviously I was, at the time, really into my boy bands and stuff. Dreaming of being in a band like the Backstreet Boys, Westlife. And then I ended up in Phixx.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it would be fair to say that Phixx had a bit of an 80s kind of vibe about them, didn't they?
Yes, they did indeed. The link there is that we all loved the 80s music, so when we were compiling the album, we said, well, should we do something a little bit different to what all the other bands are doing out there? Instead of like, I loved Westlife, but instead of just sitting on a stool and raising up at the key change and stuff, why don't we just try something a little bit different? Yeah. Then at least we can say we've done it our own way. And we ended up getting Duran Duran's kind of nod, really, towards the song Wild Boys, which we covered. And that was just incredible. They really supported us. They thought it was a great version of their song, which is a classic. So it worked out quite well for us, really. We're a bit more of a cult band, I'd like to believe.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to think, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know, the whole vampire theme for the videos.
Yes.
We did like to get semi-naked for whatever reason in the videos at the time and all oiled up and whatnot, but it was a look. It kind of worked for us in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, as you say, you took risks, didn't you? You looked at what Westlife were doing and sitting on the stool and the usual format.
Yeah.
And it's all good, but you wanted to do something a bit different. Yeah. So I was going to ask, like, was that a kind of conscious decision on behalf of the band? It sounds like it.
It was 100% a conscious decision from all of us. None of us wanted to come across as puppets, if you like, or too commercialised. We wanted to do our own thing and put our own stamp on things, and I think we did with the videos and the music.
Yeah, because the videos, as you say, Love Revolution, it was kind of vampire theme. Mm-hmm. Hold on Me, amazing video, one of my favourites. Yeah. Absolutely love it.
That's it.
How much kind of input did you have on like the video concepts? Like, were you guys involved with, like, discussing with the directors and stuff? Like, what the videos would be like?
When it came down to the video production side of things, we didn't actually have that much control over what we did. We just knew that we wanted to do something that would stand out on the screen, you know, make us stand out from the other boy bands that I suppose were out around the same time as us. But we were always given the option, if you're not happy to do something, speak up, and you know, we'll sort of take it and leave it there. But I was quite happy to sort of, you know, be on a morgue slab and Hold on Me and show away. Yeah, it was quite weird. Yeah. Strangely exciting.
I mean, I was going to ask, like, what was that like filming it? Like, I don't like what like. It looked like it's entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Was it entertaining to do, or was it hard work? Were you there? Was it long hours?
We loved it. That was our first ever, as a group, video shoot. So it was nothing but fun. Yeah. And everything that you see on the screen, it felt just as weird and strangely exciting as what it looked. It was just nuts. Yeah. It's crazy. That wasn't normal behaviour, but we loved it.
Yeah. And was Hold on Me, the video, was it banned? Was a version of it banned?
Something happened with the song. Now, I don't know if it was to do with the song being banned or whether it was the Top of the Pops performance for Hold on Me, because it was at 7 o'clock on a Friday night, and I think they had quite a lot of complaints basically because they were eating the tea while they were watching it, and we were all obviously half naked in front of the camera. Yeah,
there's chains involved.
It just didn't seem like a PC sort of performance on a Friday night with the family dinner. And that's what we got complained about a lot. I think they were thinking of taking the performance off air.
Okay.
But luckily they didn't, and I am so proud of that performance, because my dream was to be on Top of the Pops as a kid anyway. Yeah. So to actually do that and film it was just amazing. On the same show as Pink and all sorts, it was crazy.
So I was going to ask you about Top of the Pops, because obviously, as you already said, you were the boy who was glued to it as a kid. So obviously it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
I'm curious though as to what it's actually like. Like, are you kind of shipped in, and is it very quick and efficient, and you're in and you're out, or are you hanging around waiting in green rooms a lot? Or?
Yeah, you do spend Top of the Pops. You do spend most of the day in the green room, waiting for that 2-3 minute performance. Yeah. You do get a couple of chances to perform it. Top of the Pops didn't go out live at this particular time, so we did have 2 performances to get it right. But you are waiting around in the green room, just getting overly excited about performing. Yeah. So they do keep you sort of all day for a 3-minute performance. But that's the business anyway, you know, you're waiting all day just for a 2-3 minute performance just to promote yourself. It is quite tiring. But it's not hard work. I wouldn't say it's hard work, it's just tiring. Yeah, absolutely. Time consuming. Yeah.
Because obviously you got all this pent up energy for a big performance that you're going to be doing. Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine. So you mentioned Pink. Like, did you get to see the other artists?
No. As soon as you've done your performance, you can't hover around the hallways or anything like that. You've just got to go back down to your dressing room. But I would have been the first to have introduced myself if I got a chance. I'm a massive Pink fan, so I would have definitely been a bit of a hot mess if I saw that.
So, if I can take you back again just to Popstars, the rivals, how did you feel about the three judges who were on Popstars, the rivals? We had Pete Waterman, Louis Walsh, Jerry Halliwell.
Yeah.
What were they like?
That was a strange one. Jerry Halliwell was a strange one for me because I was a massive Spice Girls fan back in the day, just as everybody was really.
Yeah.
Everyone had the favourite.
Yeah.
She was
Yours?
my favourite.
Okay.
But I never really got enough chance to sort of hang with her and speak to her and get to know her.
Yeah.
I think she was kind of more for the girls' side of things, to be honest with you. So she never really mixed with the boys as much as she did with the girls. But she seemed lovely from what I'd seen of her. I was, again, just a massive fan of hers in Spice Girls, so it was weird that she was a judge on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Pete Waterman try to sign Phixx at any stage?
Pete Waterman did try to sign Phixx, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Jive Records, they were called at the time.
Yeah.
And they really did want to sign us there and then on the dot.
While the show was...
While the show was going, no. When the show had finished, it was January, February 2003, and we kind of knew we wanted to do our own sound, our own stamp on things. So anyway, we get a call off Pete saying, "Oh, do you want to come into the record company, Jive? We're really, really interested in signing you guys." I probably would have said, if it was down to me, and giving you some insider information here, I probably would have been the one saying yes.
Yeah.
Let's go with it, because in my head we would have had a bigger budget for everything, but on the other side, we might not have been able to have done the music and the videos that we have done, which I'm super, super proud of. Yeah. So it was a bit of a double-edged sword for me, that one, but the other guys definitely didn't want to go down that route. They were kind of more strong-minded than I was, because they were a little bit older than me. I was the youngest in the group, so everything was all a bit too much for me to sort of take in. Yeah. So in a way, I'd have liked the budget of the big record label, because we could have probably done even more with what we did. Yeah. But we probably wouldn't have been allowed to do what we wanted to do. So that's the catch.
That's the compromise.
So what do you do? You know, we ended up going with an independent label called Concept Music, and we had 4 singles out and a #1 album in South Africa. You know what? Yeah. Nothing to complain about there at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy that you made the choices that you did collectively, because, as I say, one suspects you might not have gone down the same path that you did and left us with the memories that you have done. Yeah. So
it was our fear of the one true voice thing, I guess.
Yes.
Getting all the sort of Kylie Minogue. I just remember people saying we don't want to get all the Kylie Minogue B-sides and different things that have been cast aside for us. Yeah. So it was one of them.
I mean, so obviously you didn't make it into One True Voice.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Well, I was going to say,
you
know, they had split up before you released your first single.
Yeah.
And you were obviously kind of watching from a front row seat as obviously they were beaten to the Christmas #1 by Girls Aloud, split up after 2 singles. Yeah. So sort of seeing that, also considering how you kind of, it seemed like you bonded with all the boys from the final 10 during the show. And also considering the relationships you built up with the girls, and seeing obviously Girls Aloud go to from strength to strength.
Oh yeah.
That whole time must have been a really kind of big bag of mixed emotions.
It was bizarre. It was really bizarre. When you mentioned the Girls Aloud thing, it was bizarre to see them just literally every 6 months they were just going higher and higher and higher. I just couldn't believe how many songs they just kept on knocking out, if you like, but they were just getting bigger and bigger in front of your eyes, and to watch that starting at the same point as them was crazy. But then obviously seeing One True Voice split just before we released our first single, that was daunting, because it's like, are we the next in line on the chopping board? But no, just fond memories of a crazy time. I'll never experience anything like that ever again. So you've got to keep it close to your heart. And we did. You're right about something. One of our songs did get disqualified from the charts.
Yeah, so was that the Wild Boys?
Yes.
It was something to do with...
That's what I think you were trying to get at before. Wild Boys got disqualified from the charts because this there's this special formula that your songs have to go through, and there's a time limit apparently. Back in the day when you had like your CD1 and your CD2, you'd have a B-side on the CD1 and then you'd have maybe a couple of remixes of the song on CD2 and a B-side, whatever. So somebody at our record label, I don't know who it was, I'm not going to point the finger either, made the mistake of having the second CD, I think it went over 15 minutes by quite a large amount, and when that happens, one of your CDs gets disqualified, so all them CDs do not get counted towards the chart position. So we dropped literally, it would have been our highest chart position, believe it or not. Would have got, I think it was either 7 midweek or number 8. That was Higher Than Hold On Me, so that would have been our most successful single. Unfortunately, it dropped all the way back down to like 24, 25 within a week. Pete Wartman was the head of this board that basically judged whether your single will get brought back into the charts or not. And even then, even turning down the deal that he'd offered us, he still got us back into the charts again and gave it a thumbs up and said, no, these guys don't deserve that. This needs to be lifted, this disqualification. So he actually did us a favour in the end as well. So he brought us back into the top 20.
So was he alright then, Pete?
He was fine. He understands. It's an industry where you've got to make your own choices as an artist, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and that's it. Very interesting though. More to it than what meets the eye.
Absolutely.
With the whole thing, the whole industry. It's nuts.
And during the... so I'm curious about how Phixx were formed. Obviously we know, the guys who didn't make it into One True Voice. But, were the 5 of you approached by record label or management company, or did you guys come together and decide you wanted to form your own band, or was it a bit of both?
We knew every single week on Popstars, every single guy that kept on leaving that didn't make it into One True Voice, every single guy that got disqualified every week from the public, we kept on sitting. We just saw that this really good looking, cool band could have started to emerge, and would have been fools not to have formed a group on our own. So it actually was something that was organically happening while it was going on, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So we just needed to wait for the final member to get the chop, and then we were like, right, let's do this now. Let's call ourselves Phixx. Yeah. The reason why we called ourselves Phixx is because there was, a lot of people were thinking that the phone lines were rigged. Every time they rang somebody's name, it cast a vote for somebody else. So I just thought Phixx was a little bit of tongue in cheek. Yeah. And it worked. I liked it. We didn't spell it normally. I can't spell anyway, so Phixx worked quite well for me.
And you were managed as well. Were you managed by Nathan Moore from Brother Beyond?
Yeah, indeed.
What was that like, working under him as someone who had sort of been in a similar position to you guys before? Was that good, or?
It's strange because it's all weirdly linked, don't you think? 'Cause it's like this whole 80s thing. He was in an 80s band called Brother Beyond, which was linked to Pete Waterman. Everything was linked. It's strange, but Nathan was a great guy, and he really gave us some sound advice on how to sort of deal with it all, because he's been there himself. He's still actually gigging now, I think, is Nathan, doing all these 80s revival tours.
Yeah. Well,
so, it's good.
I might try and contact him.
Maybe you should. Maybe he's next one on your list. Have a word with good old Nathan Moore. But yeah, great guy. He was very hands-on with us all. And he'd tell you straight, if he didn't like something, he'd just tell you straight away, look, you need to change that, Nick, you've put too much weight on, you need to lose that, you're on top of the pops next week, stop eating too many pies. You were
prevented from signing a deal, weren't you, by Jive? Until June 2003, I think, so something to do with the programme.
It will have been, there will have been some legalities there from the contract with Popstars. Because we were also supposed to do a tour, an arena tour, and that unfortunately didn't go ahead either. I don't know whether they marketed it the wrong way. It's the first time in talent show history that one of the arena tours didn't go ahead. I think it's the only one actually. Your Pop Idol tour went ahead, your X Factor tours always go ahead. This one unfortunately just didn't go ahead. I think they sold it wrong. I don't know whether they knew they were getting all 20 of us, or whether they knew they were just getting the winning bands. I don't know how it works, but we got the call to say it had been cancelled. So that's pretty gutting.
Yeah, I can imagine. So overall then, just to sort of finish up on that period of your career, that crazy period, what were the sort of highlights or most memorable moments from that whole process?
Definitely definitely getting through to the final 10 of Popstars right from the day one. You know, Pete Waterman came to my house in Greetland and told me that I'm through to the final 10. That was a massive special moment for me, not just for me but for my family as well, because they knew that I'd tried 2 or 3 years prior to that to get to that stage in my career, and it paid off. And Pete coming round, I'll never ever forget that. It's like, how often is it that Pete Waterman comes round to your living room?
Yeah.
It's not very often, is it?
It never happened to
With
me.
the camera crew and stuff. That's the first highlight. The second highlight was obviously doing the live shows. Then the third one for me, forming the band and doing Top of the Pops. And then the #1 album in South Africa and doing the tour of South Africa. All that stuff is, you can't take that away from me. No one can take that away.
Yeah.
It's always there.
And are you still in touch with anyone from those days?
Thought you were going to say the guys, but those days...
Yeah, those days, like...
I'm really not. No. It's a strange one because you meet so many people doing what you're doing. In that short 3 years that we're together, I don't really speak to anyone. No. There's only one lovely lady called Denise Baton who we both know, and you know, she's been there since Popstars. She managed the girls that didn't make it into Girls Loud, Clea, and she's a wonderful woman, and she's one of the reasons why me and you are talking today.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
Thank you, Denise.
I owe a lot to Denise. You and Denise.
She's a legend.
Yeah, absolutely. So, your first single, Hold On Me.
Yeah.
Amazing song. Can you remember like how you felt after the first time you heard it?
I don't really know whether I liked it when I first heard it. I thought it was a bit strange and a bit out there.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I was expecting a first single to be, but
yeah.
We recorded it in the studio with a guy called John McLaughlin, and it turned out to be the song that, like I said, got us on Top of the Pops. It was our first top 10. Wow, yeah, good times. Hold On Me is a tune, it's a banger. That's the one song that everyone always comments and says that's the one.
Yeah, yeah.
And it must have been, because obviously it got us into the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Number 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, after all that time.
It should have got higher. It
should.
sold quite a lot of songs as well, I think, didn't it?
It sold a lot. I think it sold nearly 250,000 records at the time, which is quite a lot.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out, unfortunately. But the experience was great. Yeah. I'm still proud of what we did. It stands out to other bands.
Absolutely. And obviously you mentioned earlier about Duran Duran, and they basically sort of gave their nod of approval to your cover of Wild Boys.
They did.
That must have felt great to sort of to have that.
Yeah.
And did am I right in thinking Roger Taylor from Duran Duran, he remixed
Love Revolution.
Oh, did he?
Our second single, yes.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. We got invited to when they got their Lifetime Achievement Award at the Brits, we got invited to the after show party, and we met Justin Timberlake and loads of different people. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Everybody who was anybody was there.
Wow.
And we were just stood there as if we're here. I can't believe it. What's happened to us right now?
that must be one of the great things about being a pop star.
Yeah. Being in the same room as people who are selling millions of records, world famous, and you just literally stood a heartbeat away from them.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But you want to keep yourself composed. You don't want to embarrass yourself too much in front of these people. Because you do get starstruck.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like anybody does. But yeah.
And did you get to work with any of these guys?
Yeah, do you know, Lee Ryan from Blue was a really, really big guy for us, and he was really impressed with how we all worked together in the studio. He was impressed with my voice and different things like that. He wrote a couple of tracks. One of them made the album, the other one didn't, I don't think. But he was great to work with. His work ethic is insane, and he's really talented. He can sing, really sing. A lot of experience. So it was nice to get mentored by these people as well. Absolutely.
And you mentioned South Africa. The album got to number 1 in South Africa, is that right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Would it be fair to say that Phixx were perhaps more successful in South Africa than the UK?
If you want to put it in terms of success with, the album going to number 1, then maybe, but we never actually released our album over here to even give it the chance to know if it was gonna do anything or not. So we were successful in South Africa. It's a much smaller market, but we were definitely well respected and well received over there. But I'm still proud of what we achieved in the UK.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why didn't the album get released properly then?
There was a lot of politics towards the end. I think we'd left such a long gap between releasing Wild Boys and Strange Love. There was a massive 6-7 month gap there.
Yeah.
I think during that time, Andrew went to do a TV show of some description, like a reality TV show. I don't know whether it was The Farm or something along them lines. It was a reality show anyway, and he really wanted to do it. So until he finished doing that, we were kind of just waiting on the sidelines. By that time, you know that the industry is fickle. We probably lost quite a lot of traction.
Yeah.
And I think we lost quite a lot of fans. So therefore, there was a big drop in a chart position from 13, which was our last chart position, to then number 19, which almost fell out of the top 20. I think that's got something to say for it, really. Don't leave it too long. You've got to keep firing out them tunes.
Yeah.
Which is what Girls Loud were doing.
Yes, absolutely. So, did you do a bit of a tour of South Africa as well?
We did a headline tour. Blue was supposed to do it. They cancelled, and then funnily enough, we ended up filling their shoes. And it worked out really well for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we ended up with the #1 album.
Yeah. And what's that like being sort of on the road, you know? Because you never got the chance to tour in the UK, did you? Not with Phixx, at least.
Yeah, we did the radio shows and stuff like that over here, but actually touring another country and headlining a tour, totally different story. I mean, that was literally, it was like hysteria in South Africa at certain gigs. I mean, it was literally like One Direction just come to stage. It's like, we've not even spent that much time here. We've been here for like 2 weeks, and already everyone kind of knows who we are and what we're all about. So it was like a real whirlwind of a time in South Africa.
Well, like you say, I guess the whole industry, like you say, is quite fickle, isn't it? And a lot of it is just down to luck, I guess, isn't it?
Luck, timing as well.
Yes, the right band at the right time and the right opportunity. Like you say, Blue was supposed to be.
Yeah, and
you know,
and didn't. Yeah,
and it could have been the
That's
same.
fate as well. I think a lot of it's got to answer for as fate. You know, some things are meant to be for you, and some things aren't, and that's why me now as a solo artist, I'm kind of taking every opportunity that comes my way to promote my music, because the right time might just be around the corner.
Yeah.
The minute that you give up on yourself, you're not going to get any further than that anyway.
Yeah.
And who remembers the guy that gave up anyway? Nobody really.
Great advice.
So, seize the moment, seize the day.
Absolutely.
Carpe diem.
Yes. and I wanted to ask you as well, just on South Africa, you performed for... Did you perform for Nelson Mandela? His Christmas party or something like that?
I don't know if it was the Christmas party, but we went round to his house.
Wow.
And we handed food packages out to, obviously, all the people over there, and that was an eye-opening experience, very humbling experience, because obviously certain parts of South Africa, they're not as fortunate as what we are. So we met Winnie.
Yeah.
But Nelson was basically in hospital with his son. I think his son was seriously ill at the time.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we never got a chance to meet him, which I'm gutted about, because we were in his house, man. We were in his kitchen talking to Winnie.
Yeah. Oh, well, you got Winnie. Yeah. that must have been a surreal experience.
Again, because I'm so young, that stuff went over my head. But it's only looking back now that I'm like, wow. And
you filmed Strangelove over there as well, didn't you?
Did. Well? Yeah, our fourth and final single was filmed in a salt tank. Yeah. And there was only 4 of us. Obviously Pete had left by this point, which again was strange, because we've gone from being a 5-some to a 4-some.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to complain, because I took lead vocals on that track.
Well,
so
I was going to say,
I
was just about to ask, you had lead vocals on that, so how did it feel taking on that kind of responsibility?
It felt good. Funny thing is, in the band, when we used to like demo different, tracks for different producers, I was always the person that got sent to the studio at God knows what time in the morning to test the water with it, just to sort of do the dirty work, really, and record it and then play it to the guys, and they'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds good, let's all record it. But I was a guinea pig to sort of record the guide vocals and then bring it back to them. Nick will do this, absolutely knackered on the motorway.
Why was it always you?
It was always me, because I was the gimp of the band, like the young one of the band, so they always picked on me. Yeah. But it worked out in my favour on this occasion. So the woman, Judy Zook, who was a big star back in the 80s anyway herself.
Yes, yeah.
She wrote this track, she loved my voice on it, and it, let's just say it caused a few rumbles when it turned out that I was going to be the lead vocalist on the track.
Okay. Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're sharing vocals on first, second and third single.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's just all about me. They didn't like it. I was like, well, you should have picked on me then. It's karma.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was great to finally come to the forefront and just do what I do best.
And you've just mentioned Pete there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So his Wikipedia page,
Yeah.
Phixx's Wikipedia page says that he left the band to pursue a solo career.
Right.
But I've seen in the comments section of Strange Love, someone says, "Oh, where's the other guy?" And an account, his YouTube account, actually replied to it and said that he got sacked by the record company. So I don't know. Are you in a position to clear that up for us at all?
Oh, drama. Listen, there was a lot of disagreements at the time about different things that were going on, and it was the best decision, I think, between all of us that, you know, Pete sort of stepped aside and did his own thing. That's how it happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Just felt he'd be more comfortable doing his own thing.
The album, you guys got to do a fair bit of writing on that. Is that right?
Yeah. We got sent to all the unless there was a song ready made and finished particularly for us, we would be in the sessions with the producers and putting our ideas down and writing little verses here and there. So yeah, we were, you know, I'd say 70% involved in the making of the record.
Wow.
Which is a good thing, you know. We enjoyed it.
And quite rare as well. Again,
Yeah.
a bit of a difference between you
Yeah.
and a lot of the other sort of similar acts around that time.
If it was a major label, I don't know whether we would have been able to have been involved.
Yeah.
You just get told to sing the tracks, do your thing, and boom, that's it.
Yeah.
We were involved in it, and that feels good.
And you decided to leave yourself in May 2005, is that right?
You've got a better memory than me, but yeah, I'm guessing that you're right.
It's not a memory, it's research.
Right, research, yeah.
Can you tell us about what motivated that decision?
Yeah, there was two things. The first thing, I was coming to terms with my sexuality, so I just started going out with somebody, a guy, shock, horror at the time. I found that more important at the time than the band stuff, which sounds crazy to say at the moment because it's all I've ever wanted to do. But that relationship did become more important. I wanted to sort of experiment and figure out who I was, because I've been so lost in the last 2 or 3 years, being told what to do. I guess that was my freedom to just live my life. So that was the first reason. The second reason, towards the end, I didn't feel I was getting on very well with the other guys. Whether it's to do with the lead vocals on Strange Love, I don't know. But yeah, I'm only joking, by the way. I just didn't feel like I got on with them towards the end, and it felt like an effort, and it felt like pulling teeth towards the end, and I just wanted out.
Yeah. And you're not really in contact with them anymore today.
It didn't go down very well when I did leave. They kind of all made me believe that if I left, that nothing else would ever happen for me, and different things like that. But I can understand they were just angry at the time. That was the demise of the band after I'd gone. I think they carried on for about 6 months and then they just fizzled out. Yeah. From what I've heard anyway. So yeah, just you got to do what's right for you. What makes you happy. Otherwise, you just end up being stuck in a rut.
Yeah, completely.
And I got offered a solo deal back then, but because I was so not wanting to be part of the industry, I kind of turned it down. Our label that signed Phixx, they wanted to sign me as a solo artist.
Wow.
Max Bloom, who was the head of concept, he was desperate to sort of come over and sign me and get me on the map on my own as a solo artist. But I just my head had gone by that point. I just needed to get out.
Yeah. And I
was suffering, I think, at that point mentally, and I just needed to figure who I was out. And I didn't know.
Well, again, so young.
Too young, I think, in ways.
Yeah.
It does have an effect, I think, on how you can turn out later on in life sometimes. I do. You know, like Justin Bieber and stuff, not comparing myself to Justin Bieber, but he had everything so young, so successful at such a young age. where's your life at that time? It's in too much of a grown-up world.
Yeah.
You must lose your head.
And you worked so hard as well.
Yeah, you're a schedule.
Yeah.
You're nothing more, nothing less than a schedule.
Yeah.
And no excuses, you've got to turn up and show up.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad.
No.
Got some great experiences to talk about. This interview wouldn't have been able to happen if not, would it?
No, absolutely. So you auditioned for X Factor in 2008. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically I got the bug back for singing. It had been 2.5, 3 years I think since leaving the group. I'd moved back home to Yorkshire after living in London for 5 years altogether. And I just wanted to throw myself back into the fire, if you like, so I just took a risk. Unfortunately on that occasion it didn't pay off, but at the same time it was a good lesson to be learned that unless you are 100% ready, don't audition for something as huge as the X Factor because it can destroy you if you allow it to. And I think that mixed in with the fact that Cheryl was a new judge from Girls Aloud, that didn't help. It made a massive story, and it just, can I say it? It was a bit like car crash telly.
Well, I think you were exploited.
Yeah.
To be honest, from my perspective.
I agree. I was used for love Cheryl as I do, love her to bits, but I was definitely used to help, from Simon's mind, boost her career, to make the public fall in love with her, and it worked. But for her, didn't work for me.
But in an unfair way as well, because I think so. They didn't mention Phixx whatsoever.
They didn't. They asked me what I was up to, and obviously I said a couple of things, but they cut it all out and just made it seem as though all I'd done was singing on the social club circuit up north, which wasn't the case.
Yeah, very inaccurate. Obviously, you'd been in a boy band that was successful, top 20 hits, top 10 hit, number one
top
album, top of the pops.
No, so, it wouldn't have worked for the story, unfortunately, to have put all that in, and that's what it was. It was a story. Yeah. So
it's people just need to be a little bit aware when they're watching these reality TV shows that not everything is always as it seems to be sometimes.
These days now with mental health issues and different things, I don't think they would have been able to get away with that now. There's not a chance that would have been able to have happened. Because what that did to me afterwards, it just sent me completely west. Yeah. And it took me a while to recover from that. Yeah. I did recover from it, but it took me a long time to gain my confidence back to go, I am good enough. I'm still good enough to do it, and now I'm going to, search for my solo career now, which I'm doing now, and it's all going really, really well, but it's taken years to get that confidence back up to that level again.
Well, that actually led on to you getting another gig, right?
Here Come the Boys.
Here Come the Boys. Who were...
The Here Come the Boys were 5 of the original Chippendales from back in the day. Yeah. Mixed in with some fresh meat, if you like.
Is that you?
I wouldn't like to put myself in that category. I was the singer.
You were the singer.
I was hired as the vocalist. I'd done an interview on GMTV the morning, I think 2 mornings after my X Factor performance went out. I sang on the couch because I was so unhappy with my voice on the X Factor. Yeah. I wanted to have a little bash and prove to people that wasn't how I sound, this is how I sound. Sang Black and Gold. I got a call from this woman called Laurel, and she said, do you want to be a singer for this new show? It's a theatre tour for a couple of months up and down the country, a big production. I said, yeah, cool. Yeah. So I was hired. It's just like that.
Yeah, and all
one door closes, another one opens, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you're the lead singer
at the
of
O2,
a band.
Opening up at the O2 in London.
Yeah, sell out O2.
Yeah. Peter Andre's announcing was onto stage.
Wow.
And it was just like, how does that go from that to all of a sudden shut, like not even a year later, and I'm opening up at the O2.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So in every bad situation, you've got to kind of see the good.
Yeah.
I can't say I regret doing X Factor because it wouldn't have led to that if not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had a great time doing that theatre tour.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And what an experience to be singing as you'd always dreamed in front of thousands of people.
Yeah. And it was fresh off doing X Factor, so like they was aware of who I was.
Yeah.
And they were just mega impressed because the X Factor audition didn't really leave much scope for people to think, oh wow, he's brilliant. So then when I bashed it out on stage and belted it out, people were just super impressed. And good on him, that's what they used to say, good on him for not giving up.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fighter, aren't I?
You are. And obviously to be the singer of a band with, you know, what were the Chippendales, you had to take your top off a bit every now and then. You had to keep in shape.
Yeah, these are all pluses because you're keeping healthy, you're looking after yourself.
Yeah, but is it tough though? Because
it's very tough to keep up to. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't wait to eat a Whopper.
yeah, I can imagine.
After that show had finished.
Yeah.
The last thing that I ever said anyway on Popstars was to Davina when she said that I got the weakest votes that week. I said the last words I said was I'm never ever giving up. They're the last words, and I've stuck to that, and I haven't. Yeah, and I don't think I ever will.
Absolutely.
And who knows what's wrong with me, but I never will. I'll still be trying on my Zimmer frame at 75 80-year-old. I've still got it.
Listen, as far as I'm concerned, you've already succeeded. Do you know what I mean?
I've had a good taste of it.
You've created some amazing memories for
more than a lot of people I know that haven't obviously made it yet.
Absolutely.
I've created so many memories, not just from the band but everything else as well.
And the story's not over yet.
And it's nowhere near over yet.
So coming up to more recent times, you've been quite active on the Pride scene lately. You've been doing lots of gigs. Obviously 2020 was the year of COVID-19. Devastating, obviously, for performers like yourself.
Yeah.
How did it sort of impact you?
COVID is just one of these strange nightmares that we've all had to live through and cope. It's affected work for me. I've not forgotten the buzz of what it's like to be on stage again, but because it's been so long, it feels kind of strange to talk about even doing a gig because it's been such a long time. I've forgotten what it feels like to be in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Being obviously in this apartment on my own hasn't been easy. Lockdown 1, 2 and 3. It's very isolating and it hasn't really done my mind any good, to be honest. But what it has done is it's given me another fight now. Now that we're coming to the end of it, it's given me a fight to really push the music that I've recorded and written. And I do think that there's a lot of great things around the corner for me. It's just piece by piece putting that jigsaw together. It's like someone throwing the jigsaw up and going, right, you've spent such a long time putting it together. COVID's kind of thrown that jigsaw up into the air. It's fallen into 1,000 million pieces and you have to put them all back together.
But you can put it back together again in a different way as well.
Yeah, in a different way maybe. You might find a quicker way to do it, you might find a more effective way to do it, and maybe it'll work this time.
And as you say about one door closing, another opening, it's giving you an opportunity to sort of reflect and write.
Yes.
So you've been doing a lot of writing.
Yeah, I basically wrote the whole 10-track album during the first lockdown last year because I had so much time to think about stuff. More time than usual. Usually thinking about the next gig that you're going to or the next appointment, whatever it is. And it was a great time for writing that album for me. It was quite difficult in places because I was very, very honest about certain things. But it's definitely going to be an album that people take to. One of the songs is about a massive breakup that I'm not quite over yet. Another one's about the COVID experience, the first lockdown where there was nobody on the streets outside. It was like ghost town, everyone was locked inside, and just talking about the observations of what happened, like no planes in the sky. Everything changed and it was scary and very unnerving. So there's a song on the album called Welcome to the New Way, which is about the COVID-19 thing. And there's a lot of other things about just believing in yourself, because that's a big part of who I am as well. Never giving up on yourself and believing that you can get to where you want to be. You just need to surround yourself with positive people. The producer that I've worked on this album with is a guy called Mick Lister. Quite recently worked with a guy called Tony Hadley from Spandau Ballet, as we all probably know from the 80s again, the link's there. And also he's got a song that he wrote with Amy Winehouse well before she brought out the Frank album. And yeah, he's going to be releasing something that he co-written with Amy Winehouse, which is very exciting.
Fantastic.
The late great Amy Winehouse.
Yeah. So plans for the release of the album? That's that we
haven't pinpointed a release date for the album. All I can say is the first single off the album will be called Heal the Hurt, and just look out, keep your eyes and ears peeled, because that'll be coming out probably within the next 2 months, if that.
Wow.
you know, could be next week, who knows? You don't know what's around the corner. So Heal the Hurt's the first single. Just keep your ears and eyes peeled for the release date, and you should be able to download it on all platforms.
Well, I know you've got a lot of fans out there who will be, you know, really eager to download the singles, to hear the new album.
Yeah, it's like the evolution of Nikk Mager.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
From then to now.
Yeah. So best of luck. I'm really so grateful for you doing this here with me today. So thank you, Nikk Mager. Really appreciate it.
Much.
Best of luck with the album. Cheers. Really hope it goes well, and the single as well.
Yeah.
Please do download it
and spread the word.
Yeah, absolutely, spread the word, because Nick's a great guy. He's given me this opportunity to interview him. I really appreciate it. Yeah. You know, please do support him, because he's worked really hard. He's never given up.
Yes.
And he deserves it.
Yeah. Watch this space, guys. Watch this space.
Thanks a lot, Nick.
Thank you, mate.
So there you have it. That was my interview with Nikk Mager from Phixx. And what a fantastic interviewee. I really want to say a huge thank you to Nick for how generous he was in giving me the interview in the first place, and also how generous he was with his time, and how honest and frank and forthright he was with his views and the answers that he gave. I thought his reflections on and insights into the music industry and the juicy tidbits of gossip that he let us in on about his time with Phixx were really fascinating. But I'm equally excited about what lies ahead for Nick. In the interview there, he talked about the album that he wrote and recorded while in lockdown, and after the interview I actually got to hear in full for the first time the first single from that album. It's called Heal the Hurt. We hear Nick talking about it in the interview, and it's really powerful and an emotive song, and honestly it made my hairs stand on end when I heard it. Now, the interview was recorded back in June of this year, and I'm absolutely delighted to tell you that now Heal the Hurt and Welcome to the New Way, which is another track from the album that again we heard Nick briefly mention in the interview, are now both available to stream and download on all the usual platforms. I've downloaded both the tracks and have been listening to them both on repeat. You know, I don't know if you guys do that as well, when you find a piece of music that you really enjoy and you just can't stop consuming it and you have to listen to the thing constantly on repeat. Well, that's what I've been doing with both of those tracks. So if those two are anything to go by, I think we'll be in for a real treat with the other 8 on the album, which I'm very intrigued about and I can't wait to download and listen to. We heard there in the interview that Concept Music, the record label that signed Phixx, wanted to sign Nick as a solo artist, but he turned it down because he wasn't really in the right headspace at the time. And maybe, you know, ultimately, in the long term, that was for the best. You know, he obviously needed to work through some feelings that he was having back then, and it sounds very much like some of those feelings and reflections will indeed be heard on his new album. So wow, again, just a huge thanks to Nick. I couldn't have asked for a better first guest on this podcast, and I'm super excited now to bring you more interviews with more people like him. I have interviews lined up with Amy Kearsley from the girl band Clear, who of course got a passing mention in the chat I just had there with Nick. They were of course another group to come out of Popstars The Rivals. And I have an interview coming up with Nikki French, who had a top 5 hit in 1995 in the UK and in America with her awesome cover of Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart. And she was the UK's Eurovision entry as well back in the year 2000. There are a few more irons in the fire as well at the moment that I've got going on, but I wish I could tell you more about them, but I just have to keep these things to myself at the time of recording. But I'm very excited about all of the guests I'm lining up, who I'm absolutely certain will provide us with more interesting reflections on their careers, exciting revelations and updates on what they're doing now. We are Mega Music Memories. You can find us on Instagram at Mega Music Memories. You can find us on Twitter at Mega Memories. We are available on all the major platforms, so please mash that subscribe button to get all our new episodes. Stay tuned, and I'll see you back here very soon for more Mega Music Memories.